Hi, everybody. This is the Creativity Show. I'm Clare Cooley. Thanks for being here. I hope you're having a peaceful gift-giving season thus far. And I want to thank the Minnesota State Arts Board for the grant to do these live streams, illustrations of my life story, which I wrote because people asked me to and said that my stories helped them, hearing them, and they would help other people. So I wrote my memoir, and I've gotten lovely, heartwarming feedback that it has helped people. It's called Incandescence Rising Above Darkness because my mother said to me, one of the few letters she wrote me, because she was correspondence challenged, said, "Do you know that you have inner incandescence, dear?" And when I heard from a judge who said to my girlfriend he was dating, "How did she turn out so nice? Her stories like the women on death row," I realized, yeah, I should share my story if that's a perception. How did I rise above darkness? So that's what the memoir is about, and that's what this show is about, because feeling connected to everything and the serenity of nature and creative reverie is how I got through, still to this day, the hardest things in my life, which is universally true. So in this gift-giving season, the first thing I want to say that I think is so important is we can give ourselves the gift of doing what gives us joy. And for me, that's creative expression, exploring and expressing my imagination, meditating on the beauty of nature and trying to put it into form, whether it's word or painting or dance or music, doesn't matter. As long as it's flowing through me, I feel more peaceful, more joyous. So let us give ourselves the gift of feeling that joy, and let us give that gift to others through our work. And even if we don't have the time or the funds, we can give the gift of attention. Give people your undivided attention. Be supportive of the things they're developing that help them heal and be happy and enhance their life. No matter what else we do or don't have, we can give that. So there have been many years where I would find branches and hang origami cranes I'd fold from them and give those as the holiday season gift. So many simple things that years later I'd go to my friend's house and it'd still be hanging there. So no matter how little we have, we can give to ourselves and to others. So that's the theme that I feel like if we share what has helped us, we're giving a gift to the world. That's why I do the Creativity Show. That's why I wrote my book. That's why I'm so grateful that I got this grant to illustrate my life stories. This is painting number 3, and we're going to get right into it. So I oiled my hands in this dry season, so I wear these fingerless gloves. So I have dexterity, but I'm not getting lotion on the paper. I'm going to watercolor. This is when my first home outside of my mother was a Quonset hut in the desert. So the first thing I'm going to do is the monsoon rain, clouds, and the dramatic, stormy. Thank you, Bodhi, for all your technical assistance and his supportive
Right. I came out because there's a question on YouTube. What size paper are you working with?
Well, that's a darn good question. You'd think I'd know, but you want to get the tape measure? We'll answer that.
It's about 40 tall by 28 wide.
There you go. And this tape to keep the watercolor paper stretched so there aren't wrinkles when it's done for the display framing part of it, will be either a matte board over it or cut off, one or the other. So it comes out a little smaller than that, the actual art. So the first thing I'm going to do is contrast. Obviously, really helps us to appreciate things. So I'm going to put some sunset band of color and then the dark, ominous monsoons. And later I'm going to use acrylic paint for the lightning, because I've discovered that works really well for the bright light lines of the lightning, stars, the acrylic on top of watercolor. I often mix medias. Watercolor and Prismacolor pencils are a very favorite of my mixed media. So first I paint with water. Okay. And then I'm going to get some pigment. And because it's sunset, it's going to have some golden. One of the things that I try to do is not lose the light. And one of the reasons I think doing art is so healing, peacemaking, peace promoting, is that, you know, we need to slow down and be present. And there's so much rushing around in life, especially in this season, that we can get anxious, and we can lose our ability to be present or not use it. And art, especially watercolor, requires that we're right there, because it's going to spread, it's going to do what it does, and we're kind of the guide. Not the controller, but the guide. So where I put the water, the pigment spreads into. And I love watching that. That's just one of those things that's kind of magical. Simple as it is, it's still delightful to see that invisible water take the pigment and spread it as if magically. Now we're going to go up to some ominous clouds, and we're going to do these ones first because I don't want to connect those. So we want to not pollute the yellow sunset or at the edge of the horizon. So we're gonna and then here's yet another medium. This is Sumi ink. There's the ink stick. It's made out of lamp black and deer hoof. So it's an ancient, and it was my first medium. I did Sumi brushstroke meditations. I didn't think of myself as an artist. I wasn't trying to be. I was just enjoying doing the meditations with the Sumi ink, mixing the ink and the Suzuri.
So we got a question. When/where do we get to see these in an exhibit?
Great question. Don't have an answer yet, but I definitely am looking forward to sharing them. I, of course, hope that, as all artists do, that my work moves people and that a lot of people can appreciate it and see it. So I hope it gets into museums. So anybody that has any museum contacts, I greatly appreciate you passing them on. Contact us. And I'm happy to, be in galleries, gift shops, and anywhere that people see art and appreciate it. And for sure you'll see it on the web store that Bodhi made for me. You can tell them what that's called.
clarecooley.com/shop. Or you can just go to clarecooley.com and you'll find your way to the art products.
So when I first started painting, as I said, it was Sumi brushstrokes. This is a meditation, as I wasn't thinking of I'm making art. I try not to have those kind of thoughts because they can make us, stressed, make things feel heavy instead of light, enjoyable. The process of doing art is the first gift we can give ourselves, the permission to explore what inspires us, to ruminate on it, and then spending the time to try to portray it is another gift we give ourselves, and then we can share it with others.
Great. Tigger Tiramisu just wanted to say hi. I'm enjoying the show.
Thank you. Nice to see you there. I feel like I see you. I do feel like we are all connected, and that's part of the visual metaphor this painting is going to hope to convey. And but it's also nice to hear from people. I think love is an invisible force that maybe someday they'll be able to measure other than what we feel. We all know it exists because we feel it. We all hopefully feel it going to and from others, even people that have passed. I feel my mother's presence and love all the time. And she left her body many years ago, and but that hasn't slowed down, diminished feeling connected to her. All right, now I'm going to leave some area so things don't run into each other too much. And I'm going to go for darker. Ooh, that's some ominous storm. A little bit of that in here. A little bit of that in there. So that's the blue-black. So nature has a balance to its randomness, a grace to its disorder that is sometimes hard for us human beings because we want to organize and kind of regiment and control things. So we sometimes have to resist our urges to control, to do art, and just go with it. And I try to just decide the feeling I want. This piece, it's the power of nature, and me as the 1-year-old in the doorway of the Quonset hut, which is what this is going to develop into. It's the power, the hugeness of nature, and the vulnerability of innocence, but we're connected to all of it. So that's the feeling I'm going for. And we'll see. I achieve it. Yes.
Do you have any idea of how long it takes to make these paintings?
Everyone is different. I have some first bird, which a guy was going to throw away all these ink bottles. He was done with a project, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm done, and I don't have any use for this." And I said, "Oh, well, we really shouldn't waste." He said, "Well, what are you going to do with it?" So I put a piece of paper on the floor, and this was when I was doing sumi brushstroke. And like I said, I didn't think of myself as an artist, or I wasn't trying to be. I was just doing the meditations, but I didn't want him to throw away the ink, so I put paper on the floor. I grabbed a couple different ink colors he had in his bottles that were kind of squirt bottles, and I just dribbled it onto the paper in seconds. And it's called First Bird, and I don't know that I've ever done a better piece of art in all the 600 paintings I've done since then. I don't really look at it as that 2-minute painting is, better or less than paintings I've spent, from start to finish, maybe a couple months, but a lot of that is objectivity breaks. So it's hard for me to say, and even an average amount of time, but I do give myself objectivity breaks. Like the first 2 paintings in the series are close to done, but I step back to make sure I'm not moving too fast to see what they want to be, not what I want them to be, but to see what they can be. And I then sometimes it's, a week or days or maybe even months before I go, oh, that's where that needs to go. And then I go finish it. So it's really hard for me to give a time. But if I were to guess the number of accumulated hours that one can work in a day reasonably, and the average of painting takes, I would say, I guess a week would be a good guess. It's hard to know. And I do a lot of detailing after I do the fast watercolor. Like the saguaro cactuses in this will be Prismacolor pencils, and there'll be lightning and stars done with acrylic. So if I were to just only work on one painting, which I usually don't do, so that I can go back and forth and never lose the light, the feeling, because I, like anybody else, we can kind of get mesmerized by doing it, and we just want to keep going. So that's when I feel that happening, I go, okay, go work on another one. And then I come back to it when I'm fresh. But let's say a painting a week could be. And there are times when it's time for me to write for a while, or play the bamboo flute for a while, or hopefully dance on skates again soon. So I very seldom is there a day that I don't have some creativity in it, because it's what makes me happy and it comes naturally. And but it can change from home decor, designing furniture, making dishes, making jewelry. Here's this outfit that I use my own stencils on. I painted, and I just like, if I can, I like to make everything that I wear, have, dishes, furniture, clothes, jewelry, whatever, because it's just so rewarding and gratifying to create. Now the lightning's going to be coming through this. After this is dry and done, the sky, then the lightning will be last. Now I need some different brush. And some grays. Yes.
Irene says, I love your use of negative space.
Thank you, Irene. A lot of people seem to think that we should use all the space, we should color all of it, and I don't agree. I love to leave lots of air, lots of space for our own interpretation of the subject matter. I like to, just let it breathe and let it have negative space to fill in with our own imaginations. I sometimes say I like movies where very little happens, but we're in a more time in humanity when less is often more meaningful, deeper. We can take it deeper. We just let it breathe. Maybe since you're out here, you could show, and I will take a moment to step back from this while you show this outfit.
Oh yeah.
Let me
get rid of this angle here.
And then I can also turn this around and look at it instead of sideways. Okay, so yeah, so this is another thing we can do with our creativity is I started stenciling or painting on clothes because I had a beautiful piece of clothes that had a stain on it, an oil stain that couldn't come out. So I painted over it, I stenciled over it. So I did some with permanent pens, and then I did some with gold acrylic paints and combination. And I often find really beautiful clothing in used stores, or people pass stuff down to me that had a stain on it. And instead of throwing it away, considering it not useful anymore, I love to recreate and give it another life, keep it out of the landfill, keep it from losing its usefulness. All right, well, I think it's time to let the sky settle.
Tigger Tiramisu said, "Lovely outfit. How did you develop your personal style?"
Wow, interesting for me to think about that. I just, well, as you can see from my clothes, my jewelry, my home decor, my art, I love nature and natural designs. I don't think anybody could be a better designer than nature, and the cosmos already is. So that's what I use as my inspiration. Design teacher is nature. And so, and it's very nice that in my home, which I counted almost 3,000 things I've made, each one unique, from furniture to dishes to art to framing designs, blah, blah, all kinds of things. They all go together because they're all inspired by nature. And so I get to enjoy creating and then enhancing my life with my own creations. So it's a gift I give myself and guests or people that get to see it through the videos. Hopefully it's inspirational to them too. So yeah, I think doing what we love, what inspires us, it doesn't have to be, and in fact, I've been put down, I remember way back, birds and flowers, it's been done, art students said. I said, everything's been done. Just do it your own way and it's unique.
Tigger Tiramisu said, "It fulfills my need for lavender."
You remember me saying that. Thank you. Yes, I do dress to show off creativity for these live streams, but I dress normally for the color I need to be in, for the mood. And lavender has a soft but kind of regal quality to it. So today it was lavender, and thank you for noticing. Yeah. And I wear a lot of black because everything goes together and you don't have to wash it as often. But that's kind of the outer. But I love every color. There's no color I don't love. And they'll all be in an outfit sooner or later. So I could start now with the desert part. What time are we at? Bo?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. What's going on?
What time? I'm wondering if I should start with the desert flower.
12:30.
Okay. I think I'm going to do some of the desert. Could you help me with some? No, I got some clean water. Never mind. So the desert obviously is going to be the saguaros will have a greenness, and the desert ground will be brown, basically. So let us see. Okay.
Looking really nice.
Thank you.
Pete says, looks like someplace I've been before. I swear I went there over summer.
Well, it's the desert, and there's a lot of Southwest. I was born in the desert. And it's very interesting to have moved to kind of the opposite of the desert. But it's one of the wonderful things about us human beings. We can adapt. And so but I do love the desert. It's got a real subtle, well, the monsoons are not subtle, especially when you're an infant and you live in a Quonset hut. It must have been just deafeningly loud, the monsoon rains on that tin roof. And I think that's part of why I feel so connected to the cosmos and everything in nature is, it pretty much was almost no separation, especially during monsoons when the thunderous amounts of rain, lightning, storming on top of the Quonset hut. It must have just felt like a very thin barrier between me and the universe. And the desert sky just goes on forever. So I think, doing these illustrations of my life story has been very revealing to me. I would suggest that it is a form of self-realization, therapeutic, healing, just getting to know ourselves. And one of the things that besides the feeling connected to everything in the cosmos, there's also my first two images are so peaceful and beautiful. And it occurred to me during this season that I didn't remember a single Christmas, birthday, dinner party, never went to a school dance, kind of didn't have normal anything, socializing or celebrations, yet my memories are mostly beautiful and peaceful. And what it revealed to me that I never really thought that much about till this project, which is why I think it's been, a gift to myself to be, obviously the gift of getting awarded a grant to do it, which honestly I might not have thought to do it otherwise, is to realize that, wow, how did that happen, that you have these beautiful images from this childhood where no one noticed you weren't going to school, you had no friends, there's no holidays that got celebrated, there's no clubs or social groups you were in, or how is it that your memories are beautiful? And I realized, well, it's what I focused on, the beauty of nature, the beauty of the cosmos. And so obviously what we focus on is most important. And we can have very little, but if we find some beauty in that very little, then we have beautiful life, beautiful memories, beautiful images in our heart and heads. So that's been very revealing. And I thought, you know what? That's what helped me. And if we share what helps us with others, we're helping them too. And that's the helper's high, they call it. If we share what's helped us with others, well, we help ourselves twice by getting the helper's high, and maybe we're helping others, which is deeply gratifying and fulfilling. So that's what I'm trying to do, is share that's why I wrote my book. That's why I do these live streams, to help other people give themselves permission to find what helps them. And I do believe every child is creative and loves. I love that the little girls that live on both sides of us here bring their drawings and put them in my box, their paintings outside the front door. And I'm going to collect them and make them into a book, because they got it. The first tour I gave after COVID was to these little neighbor girls, and And so they've been leaving me beautiful paintings and drawings in my box ever since. So all kids, all people, it's just that adults often lose their, well, they let the critical voice get in there, and the world is full of competition and one-upmanship and who's the best, this and that. And the truth is, I don't compete with anyone but me, never wanted to, and I don't want to be better at anything than anybody else other than being me. That's what I want to be best at. And unfortunately, that's the only thing I can be the best at. I figured that out. And so that's the only thing that no one else can be better than me at. And yeah, I want to be the best me I can be. But I don't need to be better than anyone else at anything else. Let them be the best themselves they can be. Let you be the best you can be. And give yourself permission to explore your own imagination and grow your confidence to express it and share it and get the helper's high and give what you got, which is what you've learned through your life, your perspective. That's what no one else has. And there's a lot of confusion in the world, like, women shouldn't speak up, and especially older women shouldn't speak up, but that's when we have the most to say. So no, the opposite is true. The more you have learned through what you've gone through, the more value you have to share. So experience is a gift, and we can gain strength and wisdom, objectivity, perspective through going through, especially tough stuff, can really be very informative. So share what you alone know, what you learned from what you went through. And you went through something different than I did, different than anybody else. We're all unique. But this idea that I've had a lot of women say, women are invisible after a certain age, and no one wants to see a woman over 18, 25, 30, whatever, on film, in the movies and videos. And who's making these crazy rules? Whoever it is, they're fear-based controllers, and I'm not participating in their fear-based control. So there you go. And I would suggest nobody should, because the world needs all of us to heal and come back into balance with nature, or we may perish. Nature will go on, but humanity may extinct itself if we don't get humble and address the imbalance greed and myopic fear has created. So let's each contribute what can help our perspective.
Question MMM on YouTube. Do you have any advice for people with too much ADD to ever get started? I'm too distracted to make time for art, I feel. Ugh.
Thank you for asking that question and sharing that vulnerability. I do observe, I call it phone face, because I started teaching in my 20s. And even back then, when I would go to a different school every week and say, we're going to tell a story with dance. Nothing you've seen on television or in a comic book. Let's make it up. Kids would kind of freak out because we're so inundated with so many distractions. It's so easy to turn to your phone, to turn to the TV, to turn to the radio. There's just distractions, distractions, distractions. And how do we say, slow down, just do what you're doing, and learn to do that instead of getting the next distraction, getting the next distraction. It's practice. Whatever we practice, we get better at. Even if you can only concentrate on one thing for 2 seconds, do it. And next time you try, you go back to it, maybe you can do 4 seconds. And the next time, maybe it's 8 seconds. And the next time, maybe it's 32 seconds. Just keep going back to it. And every time you want to go to your phone, whatever it is that distracts you, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and say, I want to go back to that drawing. And then go back. And every time you get distracted, close your eyes. Take a deep breath and say, I want to go back to that painting, that writing, whatever it is you start. I made a deal with myself when I fell in love with drawing and painting that I was going to do this for the rest of my life. And so if I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, I have to finish what I start. And so if I start it, I go back to it. I take breaks, but I go back to it until I finish it. It's a commitment I made to not waste my time or my energy or the paper or the materials. And so a simple commitment like that. Start small. Start with a small piece of paper, and if you like to sketch leaves, sketch a leaf. And if you get distracted after 2 seconds, just take a deep breath, close your eyes, and come back to it. And keep practicing that until it comes naturally. Hopefully that helps. I really appreciate you asking that question because most people they're not honest enough with themselves to even admit how much distraction there is available to everyone all of the time, and what a problem it's caused that people aren't stopping, slowing down, and processing. So thanks, and I hope that helps, and I'd like to hear from you again, and if any of that helped, I'd love to know. I'm not doing much at this end because the tape popped up when I moved the board, so I have to retape that before I saturate this paper with water and pigment. But the closer things are to us, the more detail and color we should be able to see. So there's going to be a lot more color in this part after I retape that and it dries.
Looking great.
Thank you.
They responded, thanks. All right, you've made me want to draw. Gotta go get my art supplies.
Make it simple. Keep it simple. I traveled for years, and you're welcome. It makes me very happy to help people. It really, really does. And I think that's universal. I think we all like that. And for years, I was so financially, I had no money. Let's just make it simple. And so I literally had a journal, a pencil, a knife to sharpen my pencil, and an eraser. But that's all you need to start. And Bo, would you do me a favor and we'll wrap up with the gorilla drawing? Huh?
1 second.
I'm going to ask you to go in my...
Tigger Tiramisu said, that's helpful to me. Phone face is a huge problem in our world. I want to start some no screen days for myself. Books and art are waiting patiently.
Good for you. Good for you. I encourage that. And, you know, I'll start small. Start with this half hour, this 10 minutes, this 5 minutes, this hour. I'm not going to touch my phone until lunch, just whatever is doable. So this is the first drawing I did when I fell in love with drawing. And that gorilla looked back at me and I thought, that is kind of magic. I want to do this. I want to explore this for the rest of my life. And so I made 2 commitments to myself when I chose that path. And I've done many things to pay my bills in my life, but I knew I wanted to pursue this for the rest of my life. So I drew every day, a few minutes. Didn't matter if it was a couple minutes or for hours, but I drew every day for 5 years. And I made an agreement to finish anything I started. And now I don't have to think about it. Honestly, my biggest challenge is taking time off because I love working, creating so much. I actually have to discipline myself to not, and I have to get myself to look at my phone because I'm on social media and I don't, there are quite a bit of the platforms and apps. I don't even really know how they work because I don't put any energy into it. So I kind of got the opposite. I just love to create so much that the other stuff I may not do. So we do get better at anything we practice. So just start small and keep going, keep practicing. And that's what I know. And if what we practice is complaining about not having enough time to be creative, we'll get better at complaining. If what we do is use that time instead to do some creativity, we'll get better at that. So I think we're good for this live stream, and I do them every Wednesday and Sunday at noon. And sometimes I work on the paintings in between, but I try to capture that so you can see the process, and we share it on the live stream in video. So you can see the whole thing come into form before your very eyes. And you can do it. You can do it. One step at a time. There were times in my life where I literally only had 5 minutes a day to create, but I used it because if I didn't, I got very sad. And if I used that 5 minutes a day when I was taking care of my mother and my 2 nephews, and financially I was the only source for all 4 of us, and court hearings and blah, blah, blah with the drug addict, the older sister, and so much. doctor's appointments, school. I have 5 minutes a day. But if I use that 5 minutes a day to create, I could stay happy. I could return to positivity quicker if I got sad. But if I didn't use that 5 minutes a day, I got desperately sad. So 5 minutes a day can change your life. There you go.
Heck yeah, great.
Okay. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the questions and feedback. I really appreciate it. And see you on Wednesday. Thanks, Bodhi.
You bet. Great job today.
Thank you.